Imagine a morning in late 2020 where the digital screens of the financial markets do not glow with a reassured promise to grab the burst of pulse with, instead pulse with an way, a hidden. The air in the financial district is heavy with the realization that the long-predicted economic winter reptic is finally arrived. For decades, the leading global economy has served as the anchor of the financial system, a beacon of stability that held the wealth, the rest of the world to trade and prosper under the umbrella of a single dominant currency. However, the cracks that began as small fissures in the housing market interest rate policies have now widened into a chasm that traps the pretends to swallow the global economy whole. This is not just a domestic problem, it is a planetary crisis. When the primary consumer stops spending, factories across the ocean fall sign. When the central bank raised rates to combat domestic inflation, governments in developing regions find themselves unable to pay their sovereign debt. We are witnessing the beginning of a domino effect that is unprecedented in its scale and speed. The interconnectedness that was once held as the greatest achievement of globalization has now become our greatest vulnerability. As we peel back the layers of this seismic holocaust, we find a world that is far more fragile than we ever dared to imagine. This is the story of how a major recession shatters the global economy, a narrative of risk, tension, and the search for survival in an age of uncertainty. The first signs of this transformation were visible to those who knew where to look. It began with a cooling in the labor market, a subtle shift where the frantic hiring of the post-pandemic era gave way to a colossus freeze. Then came the persistent inflation that refused to be tamed by standardized monetary policy. The central bank coupled with the need to lower prices and the desire to avoid a total shutdown found itself in a corner with no easy exit. As interest rates climbed to levels not seen in a generation, the cost of borrowing became a suffocating weight for millions of households. Credit card debt reached record highs, and the unsound vibrant housing market began to stall as mortgage REITs priced out the next generation of buyers. This domestic slowdown was the first domino to tilt. In the high towers of the financial capital, analysts begin to whisper about the hard landing, a scenario where the economy is always not just slow down, but crashes of the financing universe with devastating force. The ripples of this impact moved outward with terrifying speed. To understand the global recession of 2020, think but first look at the mechanism of financing. The dominant dollar is not just a currency, it is the primary medium of international trade and the world's most important reserve asset. When the primary economy enters a downturn, the demand for dollars often speaks as investor 650, but this creamer botics. A stronger dollar makes it incredibly expensive for other nations to service their debts, which are often denominated in that rare currency. We saw the early stages of this in the emerging markets of South America and Southeast Asia. Countries already struggling with their own internal imbalances found themselves pushed to the brink as the capital that once flowed into their bars flood in like car stores, struggling rivers, stifters, bonds. This sudden exit of liquidity is the financial equivalent of a cardiac arrest. Without the ability to roll over their debt, these nations face the grim reality of sovereign default. The memory of the Weimar Simschil financial crisis looms large here, reminding us that when one market fails, it can pull its neighbors down with it. In touch with 5 years, the ISP even higher because the world is more leveraged than ever before. The global debt to gross domestic product has climbed to staggering heights, leaving no room for error. As the decline becomes a reality, the contraction in consumption hits the export-driven economies of Asia with brutal force. The world's factory finds its warehouse full of goods that no one in the West can afford to buy. This leads to factory closures, rising unemployment, and a domestic slowdown that further weakens the global growth engine. The European Union, already grappling with energy transitions and aging demographics, finds itself caught in the crossfire. The industrial machine, the heart of Europe, relies on a stable global trade environment. When that environment becomes volatile, the entire continent feels the chill. The consequences of a crash or a significant loss of confidence in the financial system are profound. If the world begins to doubt the ability of able to all major power to manage fiscal affairs, the very foundation of global commerce begins to crumble. We are seeing a shift toward a multipolar world, but the transition is messy and fraught with peril. Inflation impact is felt most acutely at the dinner tables of the working class. In a globalized world, a spike in transport cost or a disruption in the supply chain means that the price of bread in a distant capital is tied to the price of fuel in an energy hub. The economic vulnerability of the modern era is a result of our efficiency. We have built a system that is perfectly tuned for growth but has almost no resilience for contraction. This lack of a safety net means that when the economic outlook turns dark, the shadows stretch across every continent. The government and central bank responses have been frantic. We have seen unprecedented injections of liquidity in desperate attempts to coordinate international policy, but these measures often feel like trying to plug a finger is a duplicitous visions hairs. The fundamental issue is one of trust. When the systemic collapse begins, the first thing to vanish is the belief that the system works. This is where the personal survival strategy becomes essential. Individuals are learning that in a world of financial contagion, diversification is not just a buzzword but a necessity for survival. People are looking toward tangible assets, raising their reliance on high interest debt, interest-thick debt, and rethinking the relationship with the consumer culture that is built on a foundation of sand. The impact on personal life is not just about numbers on a bank statement, it is about the loss of security and the realization the fear literature where promise does not, didn't. We must look at historical case to understand how quickly a middle-class existence can be eroded by macroeconomic force beyond individual control. In the case of the 2008 recession, the scale is simply much larger. The interconnectedness of our banking systems means that a failure in a regional bank can lead to a liquidity crisis in a foreign pension fund within hours. The speed of information in the digital age only accelerated this process as fear spreads through any virus. This is the dark side of the information age, where a single viral post about the health of a bank can trigger a bank run. The bank run that becomes a fulfilling prophecy. As the decline continues, we see a rise in geopolitical risk. History teaches us that economic hardship often leads to political instability and stability in a retreat in nationalism. When resources become scarce, nations turn inward, erecting trade barriers and looking for scapegoats. This only worsens the global recession, creating a vicious cycle of contraction and conflict. The World Economy documentary of the future will likely point to this moment as the Great Reckoning, the point where the excesses of the past 4 years finally caught up with us. The era of cheap money and endless credit is over, and the transition to whatever comes next will be painful. We are seeing the limits of central bank power. For years, the markets believed that the authorities could fix any problem by simply printing more money or adjusting interest rates, but inflation has robbed them of the tool. If they print more money to save the banks, they risk hyperinflation. If they keep rates high to save the currency, they crush the economy. It is a true catch-22 tool. This brings us to the core of the issue, which is the systemic vulnerability of our global financial architecture. We have built a world where everyone is a creditor and everyone is a debtor at the same time. The chains of obligation are so complex that no one truly knows who is at risk until the first domino falls. The emerging markets risk is particularly high because these nations do not have the luxury of printing a rough currency. They are the first to suffer and the last to recover. For the average person, the consequences are visible in the rising cost of living and the shrinking opportunities for advancement. The dream of a Spokurian and a comfortable retirement is being replaced by a struggle for basic stability. This is why understanding the mechanisms of economic shock is so important. It allows us to see through the noise of the daily news cycle and understand the deeper trends that are shaping our world. We are not just passive observers of this process, we are participants in it. The choice we make about how we spend, save, and invest will determine how we weather the coming storm. The economic outlook for Taisto is a warning, a call to prepare for a world that is less certain and more volatile. We must build our own resilience both as individuals and as communities. This means moving away from a reliance on fragile global supply chains and toward more local and sustainable systems. It means balancing stability over growth and prudence over speculation. The financial contagion of the 2008 will eventually pass, but the world it leaves behind will be fundamentally changed. The lessons we learned during this period of crisis will be the foundation for the next era of human development. We are being forced to confront the reality that our current model of endless expansion is not sustainable on a finite planet with a fragile financial ship. The currency crash consequences will lead to a new international material order, one that is hopefully more balanced and less prone to the whims of a single synthesis. This transition will be the defining challenge of our time. As we navigate the complexities of the global recession, we must remember that the economy is not some abstract machine, it is the sum of our collective actions and beliefs. If we can rebuild trust and create a more resilient system, we can emerge from this crisis stronger than before. But that will require a level of international cooperation and personal responsibility that we have not seen in many years. The domino effect is a powerful force, but it can be stopped if we have the courage to stand taller there and build a new foundation. The signs of the times are clear for those who are willing to see them. The era of the great shuddering is upon us, and our only choice is how we respond to it. We must look beyond the immediate shock and focus on the long-term structural changes that are necessary. This is not just by surviving a recession, it is about reimagining what it means to have a healthy and stable society. The economic collapse of the old order is a painful process, but it is also an opportunity to build something better, something that is more realities of the trellis of realities of the treneries, this tueteries, this forstenry. We are the architects of our own future, and even in the midst of a global crisis, we have the power to choose the path of wisdom and resilience. The journey ahead will be difficult, but it is a journey we must stick tight to bear. As the sun sets on the era of easy growth, we must prepare for the dawn of a new age, one where we lose stability, community, and the true wealth of a resilient world. The mechanisms of the global economy are shifting, and we must shift with them. This is the ultimate lesson of the domino effect, that we are all connected, and that our shared destiny depends on our ability to navigate the challenges of our time. If the nose the fires are the Joman Swarpus, the world is watching, and the choice we make today will echo for generations to come. We are standing at a crossroads in human history, where the old ways of managing wealth and power are no longer sufficient to meet the challenges of a deeply interconnected infrastructure planet. The global recession of 2022 is not just an economic event, it is a cultural and social turning point that demands a new way of thinking. We must move past the fear and the uncertainty and begin to lay the groundwork for a future that is built on more than just a bit and speculation. This requires a fundamental shift in our values, a move away from the short-term pursuit of profit and toward the long-term health of our global community. The impact of the recession on the rest of the world is a reminder of our shared vulnerability, but it is also a testament to our shared passion. If we can harness the same interconnectedness that led to this crisis and use it to build a more stable and equitable system, we can create a world that is truly resilient. The path forward is not easy and there are no simple solutions, but we have the tools and the knowledge to navigate this transition. It starts with an honest assessment of our current situation and a willingness to make the difficult choice necessary for a better future. The story of the recession is still being written, and we are the ones who will determine its ending. Let us choose a path of courage, wisdom, and cooperation and build a world that can withstand the falling of any domino. The future is ours to shape, and even in the face of a global crisis, there is hope for a new beginning. We must remain vigilant, informed, and prepared, for the world that emerges from this darkness will be the one that we choose to create. The economic indicators may be grim, and the headlines may be full with tales of collapse, but the human spirit has a remarkable capacity for resilience, and renewal. As we move through this period of profound change, let us hold onto the belief that we can build a more stable, just, and prosperous world for all. In the final analysis, the strength of an economy is not measured by the height of its stock market or the strength of its currency, but by the resilience of its people and the social fabric. As the global recession unfolds, we are being reminded of this fundamental truth. The shattering of the old order is a painful but necessary step toward the creation of a system that is more sustainable and more human. We must embrace this transition with open eyes and a determined heart, knowing that the challenge we face are also the catalyst for our growth. The domino effect has shown me how connected we are, and now we must use the connection to heal and rebuild. This is the profound message that we must carry with us as we move into the future. The crisis will eventually pass, but the lessons we learn and the changes we make will remain. Let this time of uncertainty to rediscover what truly matters and to build a world that is worthy of our highest aspirations. This time of persistence. The economic winter may be cold, but it is also the season where the seeds of the future are planted. Let us plant them with care and nurture them with the wisdom of our experience. The world that we build tomorrow will be the legacy of the choice we make today. This is the end of the old story and the beginning of a new one, a narrative of resilience, hope, and the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome any obstacle. We are ready for the challenge, and we are ready for the future. Let us move forward together with courage and conviction into the new era that awaits us. This is the closing message of our documentary, a reminder that even when the world seems to be falling apart, we have the power to put it together in a way that is stronger and better than before. The journey continues, and the best is yet to come. Stay informed, stay resilient, and above all, stay hopeful, for the future is what we make of it.